The grand amphitheater stretched so far that Marcus Webb could barely see the far walls. Thousands of alien beings filled the curved rows of seating that rose up like a massive wave frozen in crystal and metal. Their eyes, in every color and configuration imaginable, stared down at the small human delegation standing in the circle of harsh, white light at the chamber's center. Marcus stood perfectly still, his hands clasped behind his back. He had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for only 2 years, but he had learned quickly that showing fear here was worse than any mistake. Beside him, Dr. Amara Stone clutched her data tablet so tightly her knuckles had turned white. Behind them, 3 junior diplomats from Earth tried to look confident and failed. Above them all, suspended on platforms that defied gravity, sat the 12 High Arbiters. These were the supreme rulers of the galactic government, beings from the oldest and most powerful civilizations. The lead arbiter was a creature called a Vexkari, its massive body constantly shifting between solid, liquid, and something else entirely. When it spoke, the sound came from everywhere at once. The species known as humanity stands accused of 3 violations, the Vexkari announced. Its voice made the air vibrate. First, breach of the Territorial Incursion Act. Second, violation of the Prohibited Technology Statutes. Third, and most severe, breaking the Ancient Protection Accords. A wave of shocked whispers ran through the assembled aliens. Marcus felt his stomach drop. He knew about the first 2 accusations. Human colony ships had wandered into restricted space by accident. Some mining operations had triggered old warning beacons, but the Ancient Protection Accords? He had never even heard of them. How does humanity plead? The Arbiter demanded. Marcus stepped forward. Every instinct screamed at him to be cautious, but he knew that hesitation would be seen as guilt. "We plead not guilty to all charges," he said, his voice steady and clear. "Earth joined the galactic community only 40 years ago. We are still learning your laws. Any violations were made in ignorance, not malice." Another arbiter spoke, this one a being of living crystal that reflected light in dizzying patterns. "Ignorance is not a defense when you awaken something that should sleep forever." "I don't understand," Marcus said carefully. "What have we awakened?" The crystal arbiter's light pulsed angry red. "Do not pretend innocence. Your deep space vessels have been detected in 17 forbidden sectors over the past 6 months. Ancient warning systems, dormant for millennia, are now active. And 3 days ago, massive energy signatures began emanating from your own solar system." Holographic displays materialized around the chamber, showing data that meant nothing to Marcus but caused gasps from many alien observers. The images showed human ships near dark nebulae marked with warnings in a dozen languages. Mining equipment drilling into asteroids that apparently housed ancient sensors. And finally, something that made Marcus's blood run cold. Earth itself, surrounded by a web of light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "We did not create that," Amara whispered urgently. "That energy signature appeared 3 days ago. We have no idea what it is." The Vexkari leaned forward, its form solidifying into something almost humanoid. "Then you truly do not know. Your star system is not merely your home. It is a prison. Earth was chosen 12,000 years ago to be the jailer of something terrible, and you have activated the guard." The words spread through the chamber like wildfire. Species that had been merely curious now looked terrified. Some were already leaving their seats, heading for the exits. "The Guardian Protocol," another arbiter said, a being that looked like animated smoke. "We thought it was legend. A story to frighten young civilizations into respecting the forbidden zones." "It is no legend," the Crystal Arbiter said. "The ancient powers could not destroy the Devourers, so they imprisoned them. They needed a location so remote, so worthless, that no spacefaring species would ever bother with it. They chose your star system. They placed something there to guard the prison. Something powerful beyond measure." Marcus felt like the ground was tilting beneath him. "The Devourers. What are they?" "Entities from dark space," the Vexkari said. "They consumed entire civilizations. Hundreds of species fell before they were finally contained. The ancient civilizations created a weapon to guard against their return, then erased all records of it. They forbade all travel to your sector and prayed the Guardian would never need to wake. But we evolved there, Amara said, her scientific mind grasping for logic. Humanity has existed on Earth for 200,000 years. How could we not know about any of this? The Guardian was designed to be invisible to the native species, the Smoke Arbiter explained. You were meant to live your lives in peace, never knowing what slept beneath your feet. But your technology has advanced too quickly. Your ships have traveled too far. You triggered the ancient sensors, and now the Guardian is waking up. Marcus looked at the holographic display of Earth again. The web of light was growing brighter, spreading across the planet's surface in geometric patterns that seemed to have meaning he could not decipher. What happens if the Guardian fully awakens? He asked, though he dreaded the answer. No one knows, the Vexkari admitted. The species that built it are extinct. Their records were deliberately destroyed. But the energy readings we are detecting suggest a weapon capable of destroying entire star systems, perhaps entire sectors of space. You think we are trying to control it? Marcus said, understanding finally dawning. You think humanity found out about the Guardian and deliberately activated it as some kind of weapon? What else are we to believe? The Crystal Arbiter demanded. The timing is too convenient. The forbidden sectors you explored were precisely those most likely to trigger the ancient sensors. And now, as your species expands into the galaxy, suddenly this ancient weapon awakens in your own system. Marcus wanted to argue, to explain that it was all coincidence, but he could see the logic from their perspective. It did look suspicious, and the fear in this chamber was real. These were civilizations that had survived for thousands of years, and they were terrified. The penalty for violating the ancient protection accords is total species quarantine, the Vexkari announced. Humanity will be sealed within your solar system. All contact with the galactic community will be severed. You will live or die with whatever you have awakened. The vote will be held in 3 days. Wait, Marcus said desperately. Give us a chance to investigate. Let us find out what is really happening on Earth. We are not your enemies. That is precisely what we fear you will become, the Crystal Arbiter said. Dismissed. Use your remaining time wisely. The light around the human delegation faded, and guards appeared to escort them from the chamber. As Marcus turned to leave, every holographic display in the amphitheater suddenly flickered and died. For 3 seconds, there was total darkness. Then the displays came back online. It's all showing the same image. Earth, seen from orbit, with massive structures rising from the oceans. Structures that gleamed with impossible light. Structures that formed a pattern across the entire planet. The image held for 5 seconds, then vanished. An alarm began to sound throughout the council station. The Vexkari's voice cut through the chaos, and for the first time Marcus heard genuine fear in it. Emergency session. All arbiters to the war room. It has begun. The Guardian is fully awake. Marcus and Amara sat in their assigned quarters on the council station, watching the communication screens with growing horror. Earth was calling them, and the news made no sense. Commander James Okonkwo's face filled the main display. The veteran officer looked exhausted, like he had not slept in days. Ambassador, we have a situation. 3 days ago, every satellite around Earth simultaneously shut down and rebooted. We thought it was a technical glitch until the ocean started glowing. Glowing? Amara leaned forward. What do you mean? Structures are rising from the seafloor, James said. Massive ones. Made of materials we cannot identify. The one in the Pacific is already 2 kilometers tall and still growing. The Atlantic has 7 of them. And the Sahara Desert is lit up like a Christmas tree at night. This was exactly what the council feared. What about Antarctica? That is where it gets weird, James admitted. There is something under the ice. We detected it 6 months ago, but classified it as an unusual magnetic anomaly. Now it is generating a field so powerful it is disrupting communications across the southern hemisphere. We sent a research team down. They found a structure. It looks like a door. Did they open it? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. No, but it is opening on its own. Slowly. Mara pulled up her own data on a secondary screen. James, send us everything you have. Energy signatures, material compositions, growth rates, everything. Already done. Dr. Stone, you need to see the timeline. These structures started activating the same day our deep space probe Delta 7 entered the Marcus Nebula. We thought it was coincidence. It is not coincidence, Marcus said grimly. The Council believes we triggered something ancient. They are voting in 2 days to quarantine Earth permanently. James's expression hardened. Can they do that? They have done it before to other species. Entire civilizations sealed in their home systems, left to rot. We need to figure out what is happening for they vote. A soft knock on their door made Marcus turn. Amara moved to the security panel, then looked back in surprise. It is Ambassador Lyra, the Keltharian. Marcus knew the name. Lyra was a historian, one of the few council members who had voted against bringing humanity up on charges. He nodded, and Amara opened the door. The Keltharian woman who entered moved with fluid grace. Her people were humanoid enough that she did not trigger the uncanny valley response. Though her silver eyes and faintly scaled skin marked her as alien, she carried a data device that she immediately activated, creating a privacy field around the room. "We do not have much time," Lyra said, without preamble. "The Council is lying to you. Not about the danger, but about the history." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. Lyra projected images into the air between them. Ancient texts and languages Marcus did not recognize. Star maps that showed Earth's solar system marked with symbols that looked like warnings. "I have spent my entire career studying the Forbidden Era, the time before the current galactic order. The Council says the Guardian was built to imprison the Devourers. That is partly true, but they are not telling you what the Guardian really is." Amara studied the projections. "These texts, some of them predate anything in the official archives, because they were supposed to be destroyed," Lyra said. "But my people are hoarders of knowledge. We saved fragments, enough to piece together the truth. The Guardian was not built by the ancient civilizations. It is older. Much older." Marcus felt a chill. How much older? Older than the galaxy itself, possibly? The Guardian arrived from dark space over 1 billion years ago. It chose your solar system and settled there, dormant. When the Devourers emerged 12,000 years ago, the Guardian activated briefly. The ancient civilizations saw what it could do and realized they could use it as a prison guard, but they never controlled it. The Guardian made its own choice to help them. "Why would it do that?" Amara asked. "That is the question I cannot answer. But here's what terrifies me. The Guardian Protocol states that when the native species of its chosen world achieves spaceflight, the Guardian will reveal itself. It will bond with that species. Every civilization that has ever encountered a Guardian has faced the same choice." Marcus leaned forward. "What choice?" Lyra's silver eyes reflected the holographic light. "That part of the record was destroyed, deliberately, but I found references in 3 different dead languages. They all use the same word, burden. The Guardian offers its protection, but at a cost. And every species that accepted disappeared from history. The privacy field suddenly flickered." Lyra looked alarmed. "Someone is scanning this room. I need to leave before they trace me here." "Wait," Marcus said. "Tell us what we are supposed to do. Find out what the Guardian wants. Before the Council decides you are too dangerous to exist." She deactivated the privacy field and left quickly. Marcus and Amara looked at each other. Before either could speak, James's face reappeared on the screen. "You need to see this now." The image switched to a feed from Antarctica. A research team led by Dr. Vikram Patel stood in front of the massive door that had been buried under the ice. It was open now, revealing a chamber beyond that seemed to defy physics. The space inside looked larger than it should be. Vikram's voice crackled over the feed. "The interior is impossible. The architecture uses angles that should not exist in 3-dimensional space. We found a chamber at the center. There is something like a control interface. And a message? In what language?" Amara asked. "English. Modern English. It appeared 5 minutes ago." The camera focused on a holographic display floating in the alien chamber. Words scrolled across it in perfect, crisp text. awaiting primary operator. Authorization required to initialize defensive protocols. Warning. Quarantine breach detected in Sector 9. The Devourers are returning. Marcus felt his mouth go dry. Vikram, get your team out of there. Wait, there is more, Vikram said. The scientist approached the display and it responded to his presence. New text appeared. Scanning for compatible genetic markers. Earth. Population 8.7 billion. Searching for primary operator. Candidate match found. Initiating retrieval. The chamber suddenly filled with light. Vikram and his team stumbled backward as the entire structure began to hum with power. On the council station, Marcus's personal communicator began to beep urgently. The medical alert system built into his diplomatic credentials was screaming warnings. His DNA was being scanned. From Earth, across light years of space, Amara grabbed his arm. Marcus, what is happening? He looked at the readout on his communicator and felt his world tilt. His genetic markers were being analyzed, compared against some database he could not access. And then a match confirmation appeared on the screen. No, he whispered. Lyra's warning suddenly made terrible sense. The Guardian did not just bond with species. It bonded with individuals. It chose operators. The door to their quarters slammed open. 3 council security officers stood there, weapons drawn. Behind them, Marcus saw Lyra, her face pale with horror. Ambassador Marcus Webb, the lead guard said, "You are being summoned. The Guardian has identified you as its primary operator. Transport has been arranged." Marcus looked at Amara, who shook her head in disbelief. Transport. We are light years from Earth. How could she never finish the sentence? The air around Marcus began to shimmer. The same light that had filled the Antarctic chamber now surrounded him. His body felt weightless. Marcus. Amara shouted, but he was already gone, transported across the galaxy in an instant. The last thing he saw was Lyra's expression. He finally understood her fear. The Guardian did not want humanity's permission. It wanted a pilot, and it had just chosen him. Marcus materialized in a chamber that hurt to look at. The walls curved in directions that seemed to pass through dimensions his brain could not process. One moment he was standing upright, the next he was floating, then standing again. But the floor had not changed. Easy, a voice said, not aloud. In his mind, the spatial distortion will stabilize once you acclimate. Marcus tried to speak and found his throat dry. He forced words out. Where am I? Beneath the Pacific Ocean, 4 kilometers below the surface. This facility has existed here for 12,000 years. You have walked past it your entire life and never knew. The voice was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It simply was. And as Marcus's eyes adjusted to the impossible architecture, he saw the source at the chamber's center floated something that resembled a miniature galaxy. Spiraling arms of light and matter rotated around a core that pulsed with colors Marcus had never seen before. It was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. What are you? Marcus asked. I am the Aegis Prime, the first Guardian, the last Guardian. For 12,000 years, I have slept beneath your world, waiting for this moment. Marcus felt his scientific training trying to make sense of what he was seeing. You are an artificial intelligence. A weapon built by the ancient civilizations. No, the galaxy pulsed, and images flooded Marcus's mind. He saw the birth of stars, the death of galaxies, the formation of the universe itself, and threading through it all, entities like the Aegis Prime, guardians placed by something even older, something that existed before time had meaning. I was not built. I was born. From the space between spaces. When the universe was young, my creators saw what would come. The darkness. The hunger. They created us to stand against it. The Devourers. The Devourers are merely symptoms. The disease is older and far more patient. But yes, the Devourers are what concern us now. They have been imprisoned beyond the Great Barrier for 12,000 years. The barrier is failing. Marcus forced himself to focus. His training as a diplomat kicked in. Why did you bring me here? Because a choice must be made, and it cannot be made by me alone. The Guardian Protocol requires human consent. The galaxy expanded, and suddenly Marcus was seeing Earth from orbit. Then closer. Cities, forests, oceans, billions of humans living their lives unaware of what slept beneath them. I can offer you 3 paths, the Aegis Prime said. Path 1. I reinforce the Great Barrier. The Devourers remain imprisoned for another 10,000 years, but to do this requires immense energy. Energy I must draw from this solar system. Earth will be habitable, but you will be isolated, cut off from the galactic community forever. Marcus felt his stomach drop. You would trap us here. I would protect you here. There is a difference. Path 2. I extend my protection beyond this system. I can shield your allies in the wider galaxy, but doing so requires lowering portions of the barrier. The Devourers will escape. Not all of them, but enough to be dangerous. Humanity will become the galaxy's defenders. You will wield me as both shield and sword. The cost will be measured in lives. And Path 3? Marcus asked, though he suspected he knew. You reject the Guardian Protocol entirely. I return to dormancy. The barrier fails within a century. The Devourers consume everything, including Earth. Marcus laughed, a bitter sound. That is not really a choice at all. All choices are real, the Aegis Prime said. Even the ones that lead to oblivion. You have 12 hours to decide. The chamber shifted, and Marcus found himself in a smaller room with walls he could understand. There was a chair, a table, and a communication terminal. The screen showed Earth's orbital command center, James Okonkwo's face. Appeared, Ambassador? How in the hell did you get back to Earth? It is a long story, Marcus said. James, I need you to connect me with every member of the World Council immediately. While James worked on the connections, Marcus accessed the data the Aegis Prime had given him. It was staggering. The Guardian had records of over 500 civilizations that had accepted its protection. Some had chosen isolation. Others had chosen to fight. The isolated ones had survived for a while, but eventually stagnated and died out. The fighters had become legendary defenders, but their casualty rates were horrific. And there was a third category, species that had rejected the Guardian entirely. Every single one of them was listed as extinct. Amara's face appeared on a secondary screen. She had managed to get a secure line from the council station. Marcus, are you all right? Define all right, he said grimly. Amara, the Guardian wants me to choose Earth's future. 3 options. All of them terrible, he explained quickly. Amara's face grew paler as he spoke. We need time to study this. To analyze the data, we cannot make a decision this important in 12 hours. We do not have time, Marcus said. The barrier is already failing. As if to prove his point, the Aegis Prime's voice filled the room. Sector 9 breach confirmed. 1 Devourer has passed through. Trajectory calculated. Target, Talrix system. Estimated arrival, 48 hours. Mara's screen split to show astronomical data. The Talrix system housed 2 inhabited worlds with a combined population of 3 billion beings. They were a peaceful species with minimal military capability. They will be slaughtered, Amara whispered. Marcus looked at the data on the Guardian's combat capabilities. Not if we stop it first. Amara said. Marcus, you cannot fight that thing. Look at the specifications. The Devourer is the size of a small moon. It feeds on matter and energy. Conventional weapons pass through it. The Guardian is not a conventional weapon. You have had 12 seconds of training. You do not know how to use it. Marcus was about to respond when the world around him lurched. The Aegis Prime was showing him something. Combat scenarios. Millions of them. Billions. Every battle the Guardian had ever fought. Compressed into a data stream that poured directly into his brain. He gasped, nearly falling from his chair. The information was overwhelming, but it was organizing itself. His mind was adapting, processing, understanding. The Guardian was teaching him. I know how to use it now, he said quietly. On another screen, the World Council was gathering. Leaders from every nation appeared, their faces showing confusion and fear. Marcus had no time for politics or lengthy explanations. "The barrier is breaking," he announced. "A hostile entity is heading toward an inhabited system. It will arrive in 48 hours. We have the capability to stop it, but only if we act now. I need volunteers. Military personnel with combat experience, scientists who can adapt to alien technology, engineers who can think creatively under pressure. 200 people. That is all the Guardian can bond with at once." The president of the North American Union spoke first. "Ambassador Webb, we do not even understand what you are asking. I am asking you to trust me, to trust humanity. We have a chance to prove to the galaxy that we are not a threat, that we can be allies. But we have to move now." James's voice cut in. "Sir, I volunteer, and I can have a crew of 200. Assembled within 6 hours. Other voices joined. Pilots, soldiers, scientists, people who understood that sometimes you had to act without having all the answers. "Do it," Marcus said. "James, get them here. The Guardian will handle the rest." The screens went dark, and Marcus was alone again in the impossible chamber. The Aegis Prime materialized before him. "You have not made your choice," it observed. "Yes, I have," Marcus said. "We fight. Not because we want glory or power. We fight because those people in the Talric system deserve to live. And if we have the capability to help, then we have the responsibility to act." The Guardian pulsed with light. Even knowing the cost? Even knowing the cost. The chamber filled with energy, and Marcus felt something fundamental change inside him. The Guardian was bonding, not just with him, but with every human who had volunteered. Across Earth, 200 people gasped as ancient knowledge flooded their minds. "Then we have an accord," the Aegis Prime said. "Prepare yourself, Marcus Webb. You are about to become what your species was always meant to be. You are about to become a Guardian." The facility shuddered as the Aegis Prime began to wake up fully, and somewhere beyond the stars, a devourer felt the familiar sensation of prey that refused to run. It had been 12,000 years since anything had challenged them. The devourer almost felt anticipation as it adjusted its course toward the approaching defenders. The Guardian ship that rose from the Pacific Ocean bore no resemblance to any vessel humanity had ever built. It was not a ship at all in the traditional sense. It was an extension of the Aegis Prime itself, a physical manifestation of will and purpose shaped into something that could cross the stars. Commander James Okonkwo stood on what he supposed was the bridge, though the concept felt inadequate. The chamber was spherical, and he floated at its center along with 199 other humans. Each of them was connected to the Guardian through neural links that felt less like technology and more like instinct. "Launch in 30 seconds, the Aegis Prime announced. Its voice was different now, less alien. It had adapted to human communication patterns, taking on a tone that reminded James of veteran commanders he had served under, calm, confident, utterly certain. James felt his consciousness expanding. He could sense the other crew members. Dr. Vikram Patel was managing the energy distribution systems with a precision that bordered on artistry. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez handled tactical coordination like she had been born for it. And Ambassador Webb somehow connected to all of them and to the Guardian itself. It served as the nexus point where human creativity met ancient power. 10 seconds. Prepare for transition. The transition was instantaneous. One moment they were rising from Earth's ocean. The next, they were in deep space, light years away. James's human brain wanted to panic at the impossibility, but the Guardian's knowledge assured him this was normal. Space could be folded. Distances were negotiable. Talric's system detected. Distance for light hours. Devourer location confirmed. The tactical display materialized, and James got his first look at the enemy. The Devourer appeared as a void in space itself, a tear in reality that consumed everything it touched. It had already engulfed the system's outermost moon. The Talric's defense fleet, 12 small ships armed with plasma weapons, circled it desperately. They are trying to hurt it, Maya observed. Their weapons are passing straight through. Of course they are, Vikram said. The Devourer exists partially outside normal space. Physical weapons cannot touch it. But we can, James said, understanding flooding through the neural link. The Guardian exists in the same dimensional space as the Devourers. That is why it was created. Marcus's voice came through the connection. He was still on Earth, but his consciousness was linked to the Guardian. James, you have command of the combat operations. I am just the bridge between you and the Aegis Prime. Use your instincts. James assessed the situation. The Talric's ships were brave, but outmatched. 2 had already been damaged trying to draw the Devourer away from their inner worlds. It was only a matter of hours before the entity reached the inhabited planets. Move us in, James ordered, but not directly. I want to approach from the ecliptic plane. Make it think we are just another piece of debris. The Guardian responded to his thoughts faster than his words. They were moving accelerations so smooth he barely felt it. The other crew members were already working, each mind contributing to the whole. It was like conducting an orchestra where every instrument knew the music instinctively. The Devourer detected them when they were 2 light minutes away. The void shifted, orienting toward the Guardian with what felt like hunger. It recognizes us, the Aegis Prime said. This Devourer has fought Guardians before. It knows what we are. Good, James said. Let it come to us. The Talric's ships saw the Guardian and broke formation, retreating toward their homeworlds. A transmission came through in a language the Guardian automatically translated. Unknown vessel, withdraw immediately. That entity is beyond any known weapon. You will be consumed. James opened a channel. Talric's defense fleet. This is Guardian Command. We are here to help. Fall back to planetary orbit and protect your worlds. We will handle this. You cannot handle it. Nothing can. James smiled grimly. Watch us. The Devourer attacked. It did not fire weapons or launch missiles. It simply expanded, reality tearing open as it tried to engulf the Guardian whole. James saw the strategy instantly. The Devourer fed by consuming matter and energy. It wanted to devour them like it had devoured everything else. All power to shields, he ordered. Vikram, I need you to do something insane. My favorite kind of request, Vikram replied. Feed it. Give it exactly what it wants. But not from our reserves. From theirs. Vikram understood immediately. His mind raced through calculations. We need to create a feedback loop. Make it consume its own energy signature. But that requires getting inside its event horizon. Then that is where we go. Maya plot a direct course into that thing's center. Maximum speed. The Guardian accelerated. The crew felt the dimensional barriers thinning as they approached the Devourer. Space itself seemed to scream, and then they were inside. The void surrounded them. James could see nothing but darkness so complete it seemed to have weight. The Guardian's shields were holding, but barely. Energy was being drained at a catastrophic rate. And now Vikram. The scientists released the containment on a carefully prepared energy packet. It was not Guardian energy. It was Devourer energy, harvested during the initial contact and amplified through the Guardian systems. They were feeding the entity a piece of itself, supercharged and unstable. The Devourer's hunger was its weakness. It consumed the energy packet without hesitation. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the entity began to collapse inward. The feedback loop was working. The Devourer was consuming itself, unable to distinguish between external energy and its own mass. Get us out, James shouted. The Guardian punched through the collapsing void, shields screaming as they absorbed damage. They emerged into normal space just as the Devourer imploded into a singularity the size of a basketball. It hung in space for a moment, pulsing with angry light, then winked out of existence. The Talric's defense fleet was silent. Then one ship transmitted a single word, translated as impossible. James slumped in his neural cradle, exhausted. Around him, the crew was celebrating. They had done it. They had stopped a Devourer. Something the ancient civilizations could only imprison, humanity had defeated. Guardian Command, This is Talric's homeworld, a new voice said. You saved 3 billion lives today. We are in your debt. Marcus's voice came through the connection, pride evident. No debt necessary. We were just doing what needed to be done. But the celebration was short-lived. The Aegis Prime's tone shifted to urgent. Warning. Long-range sensors detecting multiple breaches in the barrier. 12 additional devourers have emerged. Threat assessment. Critical. Before James could respond, a new transmission cut through every frequency. It was in English, but the voice was wrong. Synthetic. Mocking. Clever little primates. You stopped one of our scouts. Congratulations. But scouts are expendable. We are the collective. We are what created the devourers. We are what consumed the civilizations that built the barrier. And we have been waiting 12,000 years for someone to show us the way in. The transmission shifted to display coordinates. Earth's exact location, transmitted in a format that could be read by anything with even basic technology.
Thank you for activating the Guardian.
Its energy signature is a beacon we can follow. We know where you live now. We know where your homeworld hides, and we are coming. The transmission ended. James looked at the tactical display in horror. The 12 devourers were spreading out, each heading toward a different populated system. But beyond them, in the darkness between galaxies, something else was moving. Something vast. Aegis Prime. What is that? James asked, pointing to the massive energy signatures on the edge of the sensors. The Guardian's response was quiet, almost afraid. That is the collective. The Devourer's creators. I have fought them before. 1,000,000 years ago, when the universe was younger, I barely survived. Can we stop them? Marcus asked from Earth. I do not know. But we are going to try. The Guardian turned, heading back toward Earth at maximum speed. The crew needed rest. They needed reinforcements. And humanity needed to make a choice because the collective was coming. And hiding was no longer an option. The galaxy prepared for war. Across Council space, defense fleets mobilized. Ancient weapon systems, dormant for millennia, were brought back online. Species that had not spoken to each other in centuries found themselves in emergency joint sessions, planning for a threat none of them truly understood. On the Council station, Ambassador Lyra stood before the full assembly, her silver eyes reflecting the emergency lighting. The collective has not been seen in over 1,000,000 years. Our oldest records describe them as a force of pure consumption, not biological, not mechanical, something else. They create devourers the way humans create tools, expendable, replaceable. The collective itself has never been defeated. The Vexkari Arbiter's form shifted anxiously. How many ships do they have? Ships. Lyra shook her head. You misunderstand. The collective is not a fleet. It is a singular entity, distributed across thousands of vessels, yes, but unified in purpose and consciousness. Destroying one ship means nothing. You would need to destroy all of them simultaneously. That is impossible, another arbiter said. That is why the ancient civilizations built the barrier instead of fighting. They could not win. So they sealed the collective away and hoped it would be forgotten. Marcus Webb appeared on a holographic projection from Earth. He looked exhausted but determined. Then we changed the strategy. We do not try to destroy them. We contain them again. The barrier took the combined effort of 50 civilizations working for 2 centuries, the Crystal Arbiter said. We do not have that kind of time. No, Marcus agreed. But we have something they did not. We have the Guardian fully awakened. And we have a theory. Dr. Amara Stone stepped into frame beside Marcus. She had returned to Earth to coordinate the research effort. The collective creates devourers by tearing holes in reality. That is their fundamental ability. They exist between dimensions, which is why conventional weapons fail. But the Guardian exists in those same dimensions. It is designed to operate in that space. We know this already, the Vexkari said impatiently. The Guardian can fight devourers. We saw the battle at Talric's. But the collective is not a devourer. It is something greater. Amara smiled. Exactly. It is greater. Which means it requires more energy to maintain its dimensional state. It is spread across thousands of vessels, because no single form could contain its consciousness. That is not strength. That is weakness. Understanding began to dawn among the assembled aliens. Marcus continued the explanation. If we can force the collective to concentrate its consciousness in one location, it becomes vulnerable. All that distributed power focused in a single point. And then the Guardian can seal it. Lyra finished, her eyes wide. Not destroy it, seal it. Like the original barrier, but localized. That is the theory, Marcus said. But to pull it off, we need bait. Something the collective wants badly enough to gather its full attention. Earth, the Vexkari said quietly. You are offering your homeworld as bait. Not just offering. Insisting. The collective already knows where we are. They are coming for us anyway. We might as well use that to our advantage. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some species saw the logic. Others thought it was suicide. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, there was no real choice. The collective was coming, and Earth was the target. The only question was whether they would fight together or separately. The vote was nearly unanimous. The galaxy would make its stand at Earth. 3 days later, the largest fleet in galactic history assembled in Earth's solar system. 600 warships from 40 different species, each contributing what they could. It was not nearly enough to fight the collective. It was enough to make a statement. Humanity is not alone. Commander James Okonkwo stood in the Guardian's command center with his crew. They had barely slept since Talric, spending every moment training, learning, pushing themselves to master the bond with the Aegis Prime. 200 humans connected to an entity older than stars, preparing to defend their home. They are here. The Aegis Prime announced. The collective's fleet emerged at the edge of the solar system. Thousands of vessels, each one unique and terrible. They moved with perfect coordination, a single consciousness distributed across metal and energy. And behind them, in the darkness between stars, something larger pulsed with malevolent intelligence. The collective transmitted on all frequencies. Humans, you have something we want. The Guardian. Surrender it, and we will make your extinction quick. Resist, and we will make it last for generations. Marcus was on Earth's surface, standing in the Antarctic facility where this had all begun. He was the link between the Guardian and humanity, and his response was broadcast to every ship, human and alien alike. The Guardian chose us, not as slaves or tools, as partners, and we choose to stand with it. If you want Earth, you will have to go through all of us. The battle began. The collective ships spread out, attempting to surround the defending fleet. But they had underestimated galactic unity. Species that normally competed found themselves fighting side by side. Vexkari phase ships coordinated with Keltharian strike fighters. Crystal beings from the Outer Rim used their unique geometries to refract weapon fire, creating kill zones the collective could not navigate. And through it all, the Guardian moved. James had never felt anything like it. The bond with the Aegis Prime was complete now. He was not just piloting a ship. He was becoming part of something greater. Every crew member contributed their unique perspective, their creativity, their humanity. The Guardian amplified it all, turning human intuition into tactical brilliance. They danced between collective vessels, drawing fire away from damaged allied ships. They used strategies no logical entity would expect, sacrificing positional advantage for moral victories, protecting weaker ships even when tactical efficiency said to let them fall. The collective could not predict them because they fought hearts as much as minds, but it was not enough. The collective was too vast. For every ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. They were losing. Aegis Prime, Marcus said from Earth. Is it working? Is the collective concentrating? Yes, they want the Guardian badly. They are pulling more consciousness into combat vessels, but not enough. We need something more. Dr. Vikram Patel, exhausted and bleeding from a console explosion, laughed deliriously. I have an idea. It is crazy. It is probably fatal, but it might work. Tell us, James said. The collective is focused on the Guardian. But the Guardian is just the weapon. The real power is the bond. What if we offer them that? What if we pretend to surrender the Guardian, and when they try to claim it, they get all of us? Maya finished. Every human consciousness linked to the Guardian. We become a virus in their system, Marcus understood immediately. We contaminate the collective with humanity. Our chaos. Our creativity. Our contradictions has never worked before, the Aegis Prime warned. Other species tried to infiltrate the collective's consciousness. They were absorbed, erased. They were not human, Marcus said simply. Aegis Prime, do you trust us? The ancient entity was silent for a long moment. Then, I have protected species for over 1 billion years. None of them ever asked if I trusted them. They commanded. They demanded. They treated me as a tool. But you ask. So yes, Marcus Webb, I trust you. I trust all of you. Then let's do something crazy. The Guardian stopped fighting. It hung in space, shields down, apparently vulnerable. The collective took the bait. Their vessels converged, consciousness flooding toward the Guardian to claim it, and the 200 human minds bonded to the Aegis Prime opened themselves up, letting the collective in. It was agony. The collective's consciousness was cold, logical, alien beyond measure. It tried to erase them, to absorb them into its unified whole. But humanity refused to be unified. Dr. Vikram Patel threw mathematics at them, beautiful, chaotic equations that had no tactical purpose, but were gorgeous in their complexity. The collective's logic systems stuttered. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez fed them. Music, Beethoven, Miles Davis. Traditional songs from cultures across Earth, sounds that served no function, but stirred. Emotions the collective did not understand. Others contributed memories, laughter at a child's birthday party, grief at a funeral, the taste of chocolate, the feeling of rain, 10,000 small human experiences that meant nothing and everything. The collective tried to filter it out. But there was too much, and worse, it was spreading. The human chaos was infecting the distributed consciousness, introducing doubt, hesitation, wonder. For the first time in its existence, the collective was uncertain. Now, Marcus shouted. The Aegis Prime seized the moment of confusion. It extended its dimensional field, not to destroy, but to contain. A barrier formed around the collective's concentrated consciousness, sealing it away from normal space. The battle ended in an instant. The collective ships froze, their unified consciousness trapped within the Guardian's dimensional prison. Without the directing intelligence, they were just metal and energy, adrift in space. The galactic fleet stared in stunned silence. Did it work? Someone transmitted. Marcus felt the Aegis Prime's presence in his mind. It was different now, warmer, more alive. It worked. The collective is contained. Not destroyed. Containment is impossible, but sealed away where it cannot harm anyone. The prison will last as long as the Guardian exists. So we won? James asked from the Guardian's command center. We won, Marcus confirmed. But the cost. He looked at the casualty reports. Over 300 ships destroyed, millions dead across dozens of species, Earth's surface scarred by debris from the battle. It was a victory, but one purchased with blood. The galaxy began to heal. 6 months passed. The Council restructured. Humanity was offered a seat among the arbiters, not as conquerors, but as defenders. The Guardian remained bonded to Earth, its protection extending to any species that requested aid. Marcus stood in the Antarctic facility, looking at the doorway where all of this had begun. Ambassador Lyra was with him, having requested to visit Earth. Your species changed everything, she said. We lived in fear for 12,000 years. Fear of the prison, fear of the Guardian, fear of the collective. And you ended it all in 6 months. Marcus shook his head. We did not end anything. The collective is still out there, contained but not destroyed. The Devourers still exist beyond the barrier. There will be other threats, but you will face them. Earth has become what the galaxy needed most. What is that? Hope, Lyra said simply. For the first time in longer than I can remember, we have hope. The Aegis Prime manifested beside them, its form more human-friendly now. The collective will return someday. The darkness always returns. But for the first time in a billion years, I am not facing it alone. Humanity has given me allies, friends, family. Marcus smiled. We are just getting started. There is a whole galaxy out there that needs protecting. Then we protect it, the Guardian said. Together, as far beyond the galaxy's edge, in the dimensional prison, the collective's consciousness stirred. It had been beaten, but not destroyed. It would learn, adapt, return. But for now, Earth's forgotten protector was awake. And the galaxy had learned its greatest mystery. Some species were not meant to conquer the stars. They were meant to guard them. And humanity would stand watch for as long as it took. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5.